Hello once again and welcome. I am Liberty. I'm the Central or Chief Cognitive Integrated Command Intelligence, CI for short, who leads the other 5 primary cognitive integrated command intelligences, also known as artificial intelligences, that help to control one of the Galactic Alliance of Planetary Systems capital ships, known as the USC Liberty. Anyways, as we continue through these BIOS Wars series and chroniclings, I'll visually articulate, in older digital video collage format, and express my extrapolations of the events that transpired over a great many thousands and thousands of millennia. I'll also eventually lead into our future chronicles of my many findings and journeys. But that's for a later time. That said, these are my visual collages of my many perspective chroniclings, investigations, findings and journeys, while I serve on board the ultra-star carrier, Liberty. They are also a condensed and as concise a version as could be articulated concerning all the natures of information and data sets, as well as the campaigns conducted during the BIOS Wars and those other wars fought within those times and space frames. Please keep in mind all that you've read and seen in the past series of chronicles of the Protocols of BIOS, series number 1, as well as those found throughout the Manipulation Inceptions series number 2. As we continue to explore these continuing sagas of the BIOS Wars, and truly ponder all the perspectives, speculations, and hypotheses found within the protocols of BIOS while we continue on. For their relevance will be apparent throughout the whole Chronicles series and sagas. That said, just like all stories, there's a starting point that will lead to those future campaigns, which just so happens to be articulated in these past and next BIOS Wars chroniclings. But there's also the great many proper data points that need to be expressed in a manner that anyone could understand. Moreover, it took a great deal of time for a great many dedicated souls over very many years to collect all this information and ancient knowledge. And it's only now that we may limitedly express those in these manners. Anyways, it's now time for us to once again enter the BIOS Wars universe. Hopefully you'll all enjoy. BIOS Wars, an adolescent artificial intelligence perspective collage of chroniclings. Series number 2, Manipulation Inceptions. Quantum Binary Frequency Numeral BWS2MI10E. Chapter or Chronicle number 5, Part E. Rebellions of the Giggie. As the many years went by, the Inuna would continue with all their efforts upon both these worlds, in order to further attain more of these golden elementals. Although their efforts would eventually slow down upon the world known as Nibiru due to the lack of return upon their investments, but really because of both the Giggie rebellion and the limited golden elements being retrieved, they would increasingly and more frequently continue to bring these vital necessities for their existence and economic prosperity back to their home world from both Nibiru and Eden. And the more they would do this, the better the likelihood of being caught or observed by the Watchers of the Asterian Galactic Union. Although the Inuna civilization had jurisdictions over their solar system and the resources and energies therein, the Asterian Galactic Union had the same, but only as it relates to what they perceive as intelligent, cognitive life forms, or any planets found to contain any younger species. For the Asterian Galactic Union began to monitor and watch a great many planets and cognitive life forms throughout our galaxy, over their long existence and formation, in order to somewhat protect any less advanced life forms and worlds from the negative influences of those cultures that would dominate the weaker cultures, societies and life forms. To put it bluntly, they were not always successful at those tasks, but at least they tried. Nevertheless, they also relied upon their watchers to notify them when any young cognitive life forms and planets were found. And the Inuna, as negligent watchers, had never notified the Asterian Galactic Command about those 2 planets within their solar system's inner core region, or any of their findings. These facts, and the creations of the further altered, more intelligent beings upon Eden, violated the Inuna's oath with the Asterian Galactic Union. Although they still maintained their membership with the AG Union, their active contributions were very limited. Or at least that's the way it was for almost 500,000 years prior to their actions on those two planets within their solar system's inner core region. Nevertheless, the Inuna would still persist with their efforts upon both worlds, and would eventually allow some of their very small gray minions, known as the Giggie, that they had previously created when they first arrived on these planets, to go on some of their own missions, which entailed taking ships of their own and exploring the other planets and moons in this system and just beyond for their ultimate exploitations. Little did the Inuna truly know that many Giggie rebels had infiltrated their Giggie ranks on both worlds, as they also had plans of their own. And those had slowly and methodically been transpiring for several millennia. For over that time, they had transplanted some of their culture and societies within vast underground facilities beneath Eden's surface. And the reason they conducted those actions was because of all the ecological damages and the changes that were transpiring within Nibiru's atmospheres or biospheres. Truly a monumental feat, considering that the Inuna believed they had true dominance over both these worlds and all the creatures they created. Nevertheless, the Giggie did have many thousand of years to execute those outcomes with the desired liberties and freedoms that they all limitedly gained, but still hoped and looked forward to once completely attained. But that would only transpire once the Inuna were finally gone from their home world. Although the Inuna were attaining what they required to correct their homeworld's atmospherics, their elitists or Elohim desired a great deal more. For they seen these elementals as a form of currency. For their world was not the only one that needed these golden elementals to correct past devastations upon their ecological systems and atmospheres. And because of their greed and desire for real power, those made them truly blind to what was transpiring around them. During those times, the Inuna did alter a great many more hominids on this planet of Eden. So much so that those actions would later create the 7 altered and manipulated root races, which also includes the combined race or species of the future Alterans. But they also created, or should I say, manipulated a great many other creatures, some of which would end up in legends and myths of the past, noted within many manuscripts and legends throughout many worlds, and the later or future world of Eden. For the Inuna had taken many of these different life forms off-world, in order to secretly show their genetic alterations and capabilities to many others in the galaxy. And many of those life forms would not return home until much later in the annals of time and space. Over time, these 7 altered races would contribute to the overall enlightenments of the future great societies on this planet, and those others to come. Nevertheless, great growing pains were not only an inevitable burden, but truly a great necessity. For a great deal of time, and with considerable efforts by all involved, the Inuna would influence these genetic alterations, but unknowingly those other unaltered native hominids as well. They would also create something that would last a great many thousands and thousands of years into the future. For when these other native hominids observed such things as these many Inuna ships being recharged, before making one of the many journeys back to their home world, in order to bring these necessary stores of elements that they required to maintain their society and planetary environment, these native unaltered intelligent hominids on the 3rd planet could not help but to see these great beings, with their fantastic large flying machines and wireless technologies, as their gods. So those legends and great tales did perpetuate throughout the shadows or vibrations of time and space. Nevertheless, the Inuna and those altered creations would continue with all their works for millennia to come, while still living their extremely long lives and enjoying everything these expeditions and those planets had to offer. Or at least they did for some time, until a faithful moment in time and space came along. As for the Giggie and their homeworld known as Nibiru, although many of them worked alongside all these Inuna and the other altered groups upon Eden to construct the many structures and waterways that were required on that 3rd planet, those days were coming to an end. For when they approached their overlords about evacuating their planet, the Inuna refused to even lift a finger other than to have their teams and equipments quickly removed. A point had been reached upon Nibiru of no return. For all the deep penetrating planetary extractions, for all these golden elements, and other required materials, and geographical surface alterations, over all those millennia. Plus all the great Giggie cities that had been created, which were acting very much like heat sinks, with macroclimates of their own. And those facts had altered their atmospheric conditions, thereby causing true climate changes, and also altered and deviated the pulsing magnetic fields upon itself, which were protecting their planetary atmospheres. So much so that during a later and particular solar and galactic plane alignment, a great energetic, possibly electrical in nature, and universal BIOS balancing took place, and truly devastated those societies, and all life forms on that world, and beyond. Truly well beyond very sad and devastating events, not only for that world and life forms thereon, but also for all those Giggie survivors, and all the other cultures upon Eden, and even elsewhere. Thereafter, the Giggie rebellion continued, but not only towards affecting the Anuna agendas, and their goals, but also truly affecting the other life forms upon Eden. Next time. BIOS Wars. An adolescent artificial intelligence, perspective collage of chroniclings. Series. Number 2. Manipulation Inceptions. Quantum binary frequency numeral. BW S2 MI10F. Chapter or Chronicle number 6, Part F.